So today's a very exciting day, and it's also a very unique day because I haven't done too many interviews where we get to speak with a seasoned female executive, but also an amazing rising female leader. So we're going to get double perspective today so we can really get a good hold on if you're a leader, how to keep amazing, promising rising female executives in your company in that pipeline to grow into the executive level. And then we're also going to hear about what is engaging and exciting being a rising female leader. So we are here with Maricel Lovisolo, who is VP Global Learning and Organizational Development, as well as Lucia Leal, who is Senior Learning and Enablement Manager. Welcome to you both, and thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you, Sheryl. Excited to be here.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. And so, it seems like while in some cases we're making some progress in terms of, having more female leaders at the executive level, but it also seemed to happen. There was like a huge fallout in the last couple years or during COVID where the pipeline is a little leaky, or at least according to also the Women in the Workplace study. So what do you have any input on? First, I'll ask you, Maricel, as a leader, how do you retain amazing rising leaders such as Lucia?
Yes, I think I have, and I have some very clear examples, also in previous companies where I see them rising and progressing, and knowing that I was there in a pivotal moment in their career, where they needed to have a helping hand, right, or a listening voice. So yes, I think I have been, and I think I am. I think Lucia is a very clear example in my current company where we've seen her rise as a leader, but also, and I would say that maybe my secret of my way of doing this is to keep the communication open, right? To always have be approachable. And Lucia is here to keep me honest, but I think that's how I want to be. I want to be approachable for everyone, especially female leaders that want to talk, that want to share ideas, that need a helping hand or a listening ear. And again, it's a very gratifying to me too, right? To be able to do it and to see that I had maybe a very tiny impact in seeing that growth.
Yeah, so I love that so much. So communication, and it seems like also creating a safe space, like when you say the door is open, meaning that they feel safe to come to you with a question or like something that they want to achieve or something like that. And so, Lucia, on the other end, how has this been for you, and what, has been most amazing for you?
Well, I think that I can give then the perspective from my side based on what Maricel said. I think that as a female leader, sometimes what we're missing are those role models. So whenever, you go into these conferences and you just see all male leaders, somehow you cannot project yourself, right? And you start thinking like, oh, it's going to be very difficult to get there. It seems like, those spaces are safe for men. But having someone as Maricel being there and that you can see, no, I can actually get there, right? And having the opportunity to talk to her. When I met Maricel, I was a project manager. So I wasn't even like in a leadership position. And still I had the chance of have, the exposure of presenting my ideas and the things that I was working on and getting feedback from someone like so above in the hierarchy starts giving you a lot more perspective. So having those pathways so that you can start gaining a lot more insight and understanding, I think has helped me a lot to know exactly what are the things that I should be working on if that is, the position that I'm aiming for. So I think that to me that definitely helped a lot for my maturity growing as a leader.
Yeah, I love that so much. So it seems like then having that relationship and that role model early on because sometimes, some leaders might be watching and saying, well, I take, my direct reports under my wing and I am there for them and they're doing an amazing job. But I love that perspective in that maybe looking a skip level or two or even three down, and saying, hey, I'm a VP. I know you're project manager. You're not managing people yet, but I notice you're doing an amazing job. And someday, if you want to do this, that, I started like you, or just, the early on is the message that I got, not just the direct report. So I love that so much. Well, let's flip to the other side. What do you think is the detriment, or why this pipeline of emerging female executives is so leaky, especially in the early management roles? Or what do you think is kind of most egregious that would have women just be like, I don't want that, or it's just too hard?
Think, and again, there are multiple answers to this question, right? But I would say part of the equation is confidence versus competence. And in general, right, male, coworkers will profile themselves a little bit better, right? Will have that, and they will project that needed confidence that others need to have in you to be able to help you in your career. And so I think that is one of the things, right, that typically men will, in many cases or in general, do a little bit better, project themselves a little bit better. And that, has ripple impact in the career growth. And so I think that as female leaders, we have to be very aware of that and be very open to give the room to female starting professionals, right, to get better at the way they come across, the confidence they have when they carry their words, when they interact with others, because that's very important, right? That's very important too. But we need to get to do it. We need to learn to do it so that we can be, considered for those promotions and for that career growth. And we are aware that there's a gap there, right? That we need to compensate a little bit, if you will.
Yeah. So it seems like there's more that maybe leaders can do, men and women who are leaders who want to help rising female leaders. But one thing I will say, there is a cultural and social, even generational indoctrination for women to speak up less, and especially for some cultures like over others. And a lot of times, even earlier on, as young boys are told to speak up and do so, they're kind of conditioned. And then sometimes women can be deconditioned. So they might know, but sometimes it takes some additional tools, tools or training. So it seems like there's something on the end of the leader, but also for women to start thinking about, where are the gaps? In other words, taking an honest look at where can I be more confident or more bold, speaking up about what I want and what I'm good at.
And I think that for me, I have to say that I first I felt like really intimidated, to think that I would go into rooms and people would ask me questions. And the way that I would see people handling conversations, difficult conversations more than anything, didn't really connect with the way that I would do it. So then I felt that if I was not fitting that mold, I was not going to be able to be successful. So I think that, observing other people being different, and I'm not just talking about women. Yeah, definitely. I learned a lot from, just shadowing and having those opportunities to see how women with their own styles handle those things really opened up my mind to really believe that there are different ways of doing things and that it's okay. You don't need to have like a very aggressive masculine energy to be successful at actually, getting all the goals you need, handling good conversations, like being like very confident in front of clients. Like there's so many ways in which you can actually project yourself as a strong leader. That doesn't necessarily have to be the stereotype of that, strong male leader. So I believe that opening up yourself to see the different ways in which you can represent leadership also, opens up your perspective. So to me, that was critical.
Yeah, I love that too. So if you're listening and you're thinking that, well, maybe I'm not cut out for it or I'm not leading like them, it sounds like permission granted to lead in the most effective and compassionate and also confident way that you can. And so, Maricel, what is one way that you can bring that out, as a leader? How can you really bring that out in your rising female leaders?
Well, I think at TELUS Digital, mostly has been through, being a coach and a mentor and being out there, right, for my teams. In previous companies, we've designed and developed more specific female leader programs. We have not done this at TELUS Digital. But I've done, many different engagement and programs, working with women, on their communication skills, creating self-awareness, understanding. I think also, if I go back, things have evolved so much in the last 15 to 20 years, right? Like 20 years ago, and you are in this space more than I am, but like women thought like, oh, there's no problem, there's no difference, we don't need any help, right? Everything is okay. And with the time we've learned, no, it's not like that, right? We need to support each other. We need to be aware of the differences and the perception, and so I think that we are now at the moment in time where we are more honest on the differences, and then the support that is needed for women.
Yeah, so I love that so much. And so from two different perspectives, I'm going to ask you one question and then I would love to get it from two different perspectives. And I'll ask you first, Lucia, what do you think is one thing, if somebody's listening and they're like, well, I'm a manager, or even I'm a project manager and I want to start to be a manager, I'm a manager wanting to go to director or what have you. What, from your perspective, do you think would be a really important first step?
Well, as I was doing some, introspective about what are the things that I think have helped me the most, I realized that learning how to properly manage up has been key in my career. And it's something that at least while and during my professional journey, I I was never actually taught how to do that. And more than anything, when you become a leader, they talk a lot about how do you connect with your team and situational leadership, which I believe is amazing. But we don't talk about how to properly manage up. And I think that throughout my career, I've had different people who have supported me, very different type of leaders, and learning how to adapt and connect with them has been pivotal in everything that I have been able to achieve because I've had their backup. And sometimes we believe that just having your team's backup, it's enough, but not really. You need your boss to just, be there for you, help you to grow. You have to learn how to communicate your needs, the challenges that you're having, asking for feedback, receiving the feedback, and also being, very honest about, how the type of leadership you're receiving, the type of leadership that you expect to receive, because that is key for your growth. So I would say that learning how to be flexible with your support person and also, with mentors, right? Because I have never reported directly to Maricel, but still, having that door open to be able to also connect with her and learning how to manage up also with her to keep her up to speed with the things that I'm doing and the ideas that I have and understanding how to communicate at different levels has really helped me grow in many different ways. So I would say Google how to manage up, take some notes. There's a lot of tips on the internet, but definitely this is one of the biggest tips that I can give.
Yeah, I love that. Learn how to manage up. So, in other words, and by that, can you elaborate a little bit on what you mean? So, what does manage up mean to you?
Yeah, definitely. So it's just the same way that you have to adapt with your team members depending on how they want to communicate and the type of information that you want to share. I think that you have to do the same with your leader. sometimes we're expecting that leaders read our minds whenever we're having challenges instead of being very clear into this is what I need, right? Also, you have to understand that not all leaders have all the time, like the same time to support you. For example, if you're reporting to a VP, the type of support that you're going to get, it's going to be very different than if you're reporting to a manager, if you're reporting to a director. So you have to understand that their agendas are going to be packed. The type of insight that you have to present so that they understand what you're doing and what you're bringing to the table, they have to change. So you have to adapt to be clear, right? So that you're both speaking the same language, and to communicate also your necessities, right? If you need to learn something, if you already have a career in mind of where you want to grow, be very clear about it. Don't expect that they're the ones who tell you what you should be doing or what you should be, learning, but rather you come up with that information so that then you also make their lives easier. So that's how I would, summarize, maybe not that short, but what's to manage up.
Yeah. So now you don't need to go to Google because you heard it right from Lucia. So, well, what about you, Maricel?
Oh, for me, it's like this: know what you want, say what you want, right? And I think Lucia was really talking about the say what you want, right? Manage up, communicate appropriately, adapt. But also you need to know what you want yourself, right? And I hear many times women feel they need to grow, they need the next promotion, right? Or they feel like they need to do it for others, right? But you need to know, is it for you now at this moment in time in your career? If it is that way, right? And sometimes you need some dialogue to understand what you really want. Talk to your peers, talk to your manager, talk to your friends, right? When you know what you want, then go out there and market yourself, because people need to hear. And there's no system in the world that is going to help you if you are not doing a little bit of the marketing or the conversations and getting out there. So I think knowing what you want, understanding your potential, believing in yourself, that self-awareness combined with that, and then getting out there and consistently demonstrating that you're ready for whatever you want. And so it takes time, it takes some persistence. Sometimes it takes a bold decision, like, nobody is hearing me in this company and I need to make a change. Well, maybe that's part of your journey, right? I think it's, as long as you use all the opportunities available, don't become frustrated, know what you want, know your potential, and market yourself consistently. I do believe that people that do that consistently, they really get and they find those listening ears and helping hands.
Yeah, no, I love that so much. And so, I always say that everything starts with clarity, but clarity and sometimes I think that's a tough one because people think, oh, it's the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. But if you can simplify getting clear on, do I want to be the best at where I am? Maybe you love being a project manager, or maybe you love being a manager or a director, and you want to be the best at where you are. I mean, just honoring that, or maybe you are on that upward trajectory and you're like, I do want to be a VP or, a C level or part of the executive um, staff. So that clarity is really huge, and getting down to not just clear on what others expect of you, but also clear on what you really want. Yeah, and it reminds me, I was leading an offsite yesterday that speaks to your point. She was in, um, uh, it was part of a women in product group, and she said she's a director and she doesn't know if she wants to go to the next level. And so sometimes we get paralyzed by that, and I'm like, well, what is the next step? And she's like, oh, I think I should like talk to someone. So just taking that incremental next step to help make a decision, like having the conversation or something like that. So there is help that you can get on gaining that clarity. So both of those, that managing up and getting clear, and then marketing yourself. So for everyone listening, Lucia, what would be the one call to action for rising female executives such as yourself?
Well, I would have to say that, yeah, what Maricel mentioned, I think is spot on, because it doesn't really matter how hard you work and all of the efforts that you can do if you don't know where you're heading. So I definitely, like, if you already have clarity of what you want to do, then, just start looking for opportunities so that you can get either the skills that you're missing or the experience that you're missing. I think that a lot of people, and I'm going to include myself, that sometimes you just, want to get the promotion, but you are not really there. And the reality is that you have to become first that professional, get all of the experience and knowledge, and then the promotion is just basically a confirmation that you got there, and it doesn't happen the other way around. So if you're looking to grow, start finding the opportunities very creatively, because I do believe that regardless of what your current role is, you will be able to find the opportunities to start learning the things that you're missing to get to where you want to go. So that would be, for me, the first thing that I would advise to anyone who's looking to grow into their career.
Yeah, I love that. So get clear, start learning, and just start getting after it. Yeah, love that. What about you, Marcel?
Yeah, work on your self-awareness, right? I think it's important. Nobody's going to tell you where to go. You need to know that for yourself. And then, a career is long. There are moments in your career that might not be, that you have whatever, you need to focus maybe more on your family, right? You can share that. If you have the talent and you have the potential, it could be that in a couple of years there's going to be a better moment for you to take a new role or more responsibility. So I think it's have a good balance of taking the time to be self-aware, know what you want to do, know where your energy goes, right? And then I think that's an important thing too. It's not just the promotion. It's like, do I feel I can give more? I have more energy. I have more potential that currently is not being leveraged. I think for me, that is a very nice way to know you are up to the challenge, right? It's not just like a title. It's about what can you give? Do you have that energy flowing that is kind of burning your hands because you are not having all the room to be the leader that you can be? I think that's a beautiful proposition, and feel that, own that, and then find all the ways to be able to get to the level where you can be happy with what you can give to others.
Yeah, so I love that. Take an energy inventory rather than, and that again is very personal because that weighs against what we think we should be doing or going after or what have you. So that has been so valuable. So Maricel and Lucia of TELUS Digital, congratulations on all of the success that you have had to this point. I look forward to following both of your journeys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheryl.